Archives of Prasar Bharati presents the timeless treasure of golden era.
Hello and welcome to Living on the Edge. Please do a program, writes Chiranjeev Bezborua of Jorhat, Assam, on the use and selling of drugs without proper prescriptions. This week, Nandini Rajwade takes a look at a drug available in virtually every store that gives you a jump start each morning, helps you keep awake during exams, and makes you sober when you want to be.
Can you guess what is being spoken about here?
A bit disgusting.
There's something which is missing in my day.
No good. Next impossible. Satisfaction.
History weaves an interesting tale about the origins of this substance. Many moons ago, they say, an Ethiopian shepherd boy saw his goats dancing to a tune of the taste of some berries. Suspicious of the berries, he took them to a priest who threw them into a fire, declaring them to be evil. An exotic aroma filled the air, and coffee was born. Today, this exotic aroma with that of tea fills the air on India's roads, in homes, offices, and at social gatherings. It is a beverage savoured by people of all classes all over the world and has been responsible for initiating many established social practices. In fact, the coffee house syndrome, if you could call it that, started in the 13th century in Arabia and filtered down to our society. Today, it is a widely used platform where politicians, traders, and students alike gather to express views and opinions as they satisfy their taste buds. But what is it about beverages like coffee, cocoa, and tea that makes you dependent on them? A compound found naturally in coffee, cocoa seeds, and tea leaves, caffeine is said to be addictive by nature. Records of caffeine use go back over 1600 years, and because of its high prevalence and use, it has been identified as a drug of abuse. Drugs of abuse have two major characteristics. They have adverse side effects, having the capacity to harm the individual, and they are addictive.
Caffeine essentially is a drug. You can think of it as a mild drug compared to alcohol or more serious drugs. So it has an effect on the human system, particularly human brain. It affects the nervous system. Initially it gives some sort of a knockout effect. So one feels sort of a pep up, but later on it phases out and then it gets into sort of a withdrawal syndromes.
People who suffer from caffeineism have a history of consuming a lot of products containing caffeine. In fact, 200 milligrams of caffeine or about 2 cups of coffee per day is all it takes to have an effect on your health. As a result, most people consume enough caffeine each day to produce symptoms of caffeineism without realizing it. So why don't you do a checklist? Some of the commonly used products which contain caffeine are coffee, tea, cocoa, chocolate, cola, and anisin. Though some experts argue that caffeine isn't so harmful as it is made out to be, studies conducted reveal it is a stimulant which adversely affects the central nervous system.
You wouldn't say that this caffeine content in coffee doesn't produce any ill health to the human system?
No, definitely not.
Main effect is on the brain. It affects the central nervous system. So since the central nervous system controls the entire body, any damage that might eventually happen to the CNS on a long-term basis could cause a serious nervous disorder in the entire human body.
I have seen in my experience of spanning over 30 years now, that many people for the first time came, especially young people, who for the first time came with the missing beats. It so happened that they took coffee for the first time.
Children who consume 6 cans of cola per day or over 25 small bars of chocolate run the same risk of caffeineism due to their lower body weight. If affected, they become jumpy and speak faster than normal. Adults who consume the same amount of caffeine, more than 2 to 3 cups of coffee or tea per day, have more subjective reactions such as mood changes. Quantities which can affect a person vary from individual to individual. So having a friend who can consume lots of coffee or cola without negative effects doesn't really mean you can do likewise. Your body is different and could be telling you something. If you are an avid coffee, cocoa or tea drinker and experience any of the following symptoms, you may be hooked. Withdrawal signs include headache, lethargy, irritability, restlessness, drowsiness, and disinclination to work. These symptoms normally come on 18 hours after your last dose of caffeine. And yet, any of us could argue about how we feel perkier after our morning cup, how it helps to keep awake for long hours, and how black coffee speeds up the sobering up process. There are answers to that too. Doctors claim that physically you may feel more alert, but your senses will be dulled, leaving you unproductive.
If you continuously go on whipping a horse, it will get tired and it will not work. So the same thing is about tea or coffee. Yes, a cup or two is all right. It does stimulate your central nervous system. But if you take more, you will be awake, but you will not be able to concentrate that much.
In the West, consumer and health awareness have prompted the marketing of decaffeinated products, a process which reduces caffeine content. But in India, the need to do this is not felt at all.
Recent years, because of this increased health awareness and health products, many of these developed countries, they are switching over gradually to the beverages which contain less caffeine or no caffeine.
But if you're saying caffeine has no ill effect,
Yeah.
then why should one opt for decaffeinated? Or should we, like in India, should we opt for decaffeinated?
Well,
Though coffee producers might try and deny the ill effects of caffeine on human health, decaffeinated products might be a better idea than any of us might realize at present. Till then, the only way to reduce the amount of caffeine you consume each day is to regulate your consumption of this delightfully satisfying product.
Isn't it shocking that 1 out of 8 persons who die because of tobacco-related diseases induced by the cigarette have never ever smoked one in their lives? 1 out of 8. So the next time you're in the company of somebody who's smoking, make sure he or she stops while you're there. Don't let anyone puff your life away. Remember, every action of yours counts.
Coming up, a report on what major political parties have planned for the environment and something to keep you on pins and needles. But before that, an update.
Episode 5, August 1994, Neem. Living on the Edge examines the various uses of neem. Every part of the tree finds its application in various medicinal and household uses. May 1995. The patenting of an improved quality neem oil by W.R. Grace, an American company, through the European Patent Office at Munich, caused concern in India. Neem oil has been used under the Ayurveda system of medicine, therefore its monopolization by an individual or company for exclusive commercial exploitation was seen as a threat. Already, 63 patents have been granted to various countries. January 1996. The Minister of State for Environment and Forest announces the plan to declare Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan as neem states to promote neem plantations. Verdict: welcome measures to expand plantation of neem. Steps to ensure commercial exploitation must be taken immediately, so that a product Indians have used and been familiar with for centuries will not become something we have to buy from Western multinational companies.
Although the environment is crucial if not critical to our existence, it barely finds more than a passing mention in the manifestos of political parties. As we prepare to usher in a new government, Romil Shanmugam speaks to representatives of leading political parties to find out what they have planned for the environment.
The environment. One of the most abused constituencies, often paid scant attention to in our rush to industrialize. The constituency encompasses the whole of our country, from the Himalayas to the Indian Ocean.
Which is the first environmental issue you will tackle if your party comes to power?
The first issue that we would tackle would be a national water and a forest policy. Because India probably is one of the only countries in the world where you have hundreds of people, thousands of people dying every year at the same time for floods as well as droughts.
The first thing we propose to do in the field of environment is to look at all the existing laws from the viewpoint of environment. We are of the view that the present laws need updating.
There's no first environmental issue. All environment is one unity. So there has got to be an integrated approach to water, soil, vegetation.
Pollution, inundation and displacement. Because we believe that these are the key issues and therefore they must be tackled first.
What measures have you taken to address the issue in the states where you have been in power?
When our Janata Party and Janata Dal government was in Karnataka in the past, they encouraged plantation of trees in all the urban areas as well. In fact, in Bangalore, no layout was sanctioned unless a house owner or a person who wanted to build a house was prepared to plant a few trees in his own place.
By and large, the directives come from the center. The budget comes accordingly. Allocations are like that. So it's not easy. But they are doing something about it. For example, Gopal Gram scheme, which is very successful in Gujarat and Rajasthan. They are concentrating on the cattle, the quality of cattle. And they have also decided that 60% of the budget will be spent in the rural areas.
You see, as far as forestry is concerned, in fact in West Bengal, we have taken a very special drive for social forestry, but specifically in order to augment both the water resources as well as to conserve the climatic conditions. And I think it has been a fairly successful story, in fact, where it has been a voluntary effort. And we have involved the panchayats in bringing up this social forestry schemes.
Various measures we have taken to displace industry, disperse industry, control pollution, and all the methods, all the steps that are mentioned in the annual report of the Ministry of Environment. Those are the actions we have taken.
Animals and birds, the trees, the rivers and oceans, the soils and man. Unfortunately, human beings scarcely see beyond themselves, ruthlessly exploiting the environment for their own needs.
How will you address a tree if the tree is a voter?
Well, I will address him as a Vriksha Mitra, friend of tree. We are your friends. You are as important to us as any human being, and we will try to protect as much as we try to protect minorities or weaker sections.
We will salute the tree, we will water it, we will not put any chemical fertilizer there, because chemicals are guilty unless proved otherwise.
If it were a voter, I would tell the voter that his population would be sought to be reduced. If I were to address the tree as a voter, I would assure the tree that the population of trees will go up if we come to power.
That for the survival of the country, the society, and itself and ourselves, vote for us.
Homo sapiens. a creature which has attained preeminence over all living beings because of its ability to think and act upon its thinking.
How does your party's perception differ from that of other political parties?
Their manifestos are weak on environment. The references in the chapter environment are formal. You see, our references are more genuine in that our growth model itself accommodates environmental concerns.
I think their approach is casual. After all, you don't have to judge people by what they write. You have to judge them by what they do. And they haven't done anything. Things drag on, except that they keep objecting to this or that plant, factory, ecology. It has become another break in industrialization. Otherwise, they are not doing anything much.
We have been arguing for what we would call a balanced and a sustainable development. Which means that we have to strike a balance between the required pace of industrialization, including the necessity for large-scale projects, while at the same time try and preserve and conserve both the ecological balance as well as the environment. So, we have been arguing, which I think is what distinguishes us from the others, for a national level program.
Fortunately, there is a national consensus on environment, and I don't think there is any sharp basic difference between political parties on this issue.
Survival. We are killing our environment and slowly killing ourselves by degrees. Animals near extinction, soil degenerates, grass withers, the air chokes, rivers run dry, mountains are laid bare, the oceans depleted.
Give us a key word which shows your concern for the environment.
Dharti Mata, concert of the Lord.
The key word for us is sustainable development.
Nisarga Mitra, friend of nature.
Conserve to develop.
Have you ever asked yourself why birds are constantly migrating from one part of the globe to another when they can just relax and lead nice settled lives? Well, here are the possible reasons why they do so. You can add your own reasons to the list, but this is what scientists have to say. It is a regular seasonal movement between one area where the birds breed and another in which the climate and other conditions are more suitable when the breeding season is over. The other school of thought says that they cross continents to exploit regional food supplies for variety in their summer and winter diets, sort of a la carte in different continental restaurants. Needing no signboards or traffic instructions, they seem to navigate with the help of the sun. And if you still want to know how the bird knows which precise tree to come back to after having travelled over 20,000 kilometers, well, that's still one of life's little mysteries. But ask a birdie that, and this is what he or she might whisper to you. We know how to fly, so we make the most of it.
S.K. Hussain of Nagaland wants to know which herbal medicines don't have side effects. I'm afraid we've already done a feature on this. This week in our continuing series on age-old remedies, watch out for Tisha Srivastav, who wants to stick pins and needles into you.
I had a severe case of slip disc, where all surgeons had said immediate surgery. I couldn't sit, I just had to keep lying down for 2.5 months.
I never used to get sleep in spite of having a lot of pills like Compose and I used to take 5, 6, and I used to feel very lethargy.
See, I had a road accident, lost my forearm. The arm was in a total state of paralysis, no sensations, no movements.
फिजियोथेरेपी कराई, उससे टेम्परेरी रिलीफ आया, फिर आयुर्वेदिक मसाज कराई। बहुत हालत जब ख़राब थी तो यही सब कहा गया कि इसकी सर्जरी कराऊं।
Today, all these patients have two things in common. One, they are well on the road to recovery, and two, they have this to thank. These needles are the chief prescriptions in acupuncture, a 5,000-year-old Chinese medicinal system that originated almost miraculously on a battlefield. A warrior was hit in the knee by an arrow. When it was pulled out, he discovered that he had got rid of a nagging shoulder ailment. From then on, practitioners have over the centuries charted out 400 precise acupuncture points in 14 channels of the body that can cure almost anything. This is how it works. When a needle is pricked in, bioenergy, or qi as the Chinese called it, flows through the body. The patient feels a mild tingling sensation.
You can feel a flow of energy in the body, and especially the areas where the problem is, it's like electric current.
This bioenergy stimulates the release of endorphins, a biocompound that's a potent painkiller, and also restores all hormonal balances. But how do practitioners choose where to put in the needles? Each channel is actually named after the major organ it controls. For example,
we call it the stomach channel. Okay, this is originating below the eye. And as it travels down, it comes and ends here in between the second and the third toe. If an individual is suffering any pain in the teeth, or in the sinus region, or in the frontal region of the head, and you put a pin here, or you do a manipulation here, and instantly the individual's pain can subside.
Lots of needles collectively activate the whole channel, getting, so to speak, to the root of the problem, instead of myopically treating only the symptom. As a result, even latent problems get diagnosed.
Lung channel is one channel which governs the lungs as well as the skin, So if you're treating a patient for asthma, but she would come back and tell me that her hair growth is getting much better.
It is drug-free, has no known side effects, and actually relaxes the patient.
People are very apprehensive about the needles. The thought of having so many needles poked into you. There is something to this treatment. It's so relaxing.
Unlike allopathy, where we
treat the disease and forget the patient, to combine the right amount of allopathy with the other sciences would be the ideal thing, in my opinion.
However, Western medicinal pundits are skeptical about the ability of ordinary steel alloy needles to cure everything from strokes to slip discs and to ease almost any ache in the human anatomy. They are also quick to point out that all research available is anecdotal and practically no ancient documentation is available. Moreover, given the fact that no medical college offers a course in acupuncture and that the threat of unsterilized needles is real, it is no wonder that the practice has not gained widespread acceptance. In fact, a large number of people dismiss it as mere quacupuncture or at best a reliever of minor body aches. Acupuncturists say you'll never believe it till you try it. Shrouded as it is in mystery and oriental ambiguity, there does appear to be a holistic science behind this timeless healing system. To demystify it is a challenge, which will only complement our modern medicinal system, which is increasingly making people drug dependent in the process of making them better.
R.K. Vishwanath of Latur, Maharashtra wants to know how one gets rid of plastic waste. Well, the answer is you can't burn it and you can't just throw it away. All you can do is reduce its use and get it to people who recycle plastic. Before we leave you this week, here's a profile on someone who's come to be known as a waste paper man.
You could call him the waste paper man. In fact, if Satram Dikshit were to ever stand for elections, his slogan would definitely be
reduce, reuse, recycle.
Recycling is his work, his hobby, his obsession. So much so, he's almost philosophical about it.
मेरा बैकग्राउंड पेपर का होने के नाते और वेस्ट से जुड़े होने के नाते अब ये विचार आया कि भाई ये जो वेस्ट है जितना हो रहा है इसका एक दिन क्या होगा.
So without wasting any more time or waste, he came up with a simple yet novel solution.
आप अपना वेस्ट लाइए और वेस्ट के बदले में आपको बनी हुई अच्छी प्रोडक्ट मिलेगी. पेपर के बदले में किसी भी तरह का पेपर प्रोडक्ट, स्टेशनरी है, कैरी बैग्स हैं, डायरी है, सभी तरह के आइटम्स लिए जा सकते हैं.
What did he think this designer kabadi scheme of his would achieve?
अखबार है या मैगजीन से उसको सेग्रीगेट कर लेते हैं, बाकी सारा जितना हम फाड़ जिसको हम लोग ट्रिमिंग से बोलते हैं, फाड़ के वो सारा हम कचड़े में फेंक देते हैं. फेंकने के बजाय इससे दोबारा कुछ हम ले सकते हैं.
What started out as an altruistic individual effort has today caught on. Day in and day out, individuals, hotels, schools and corporate institutions bring in their paper and plastic waste and take home any of this or all of this at kabaddi competitive rates.
शुरू में एक्चुअली जब हमने शुरू किया था तो पहले तो ऐसा खैर स्वाभाविक है विचार आना कि भाई चलेगा नहीं चलेगा, लोग पसंद करेंगे कि नहीं करेंगे। जब प्रोडक्ट या जो हमारे रिसाइकलिंग मेंबर की डिमांड इतनी बढ़ गई कि हमें यूनिट डालनी पड़ी।
There's no stopping this immensely sensible scheme, and he's not stopping anyone from introducing it in their locality.
मुझे तो ये बड़ा अच्छा लगता है क्योंकि 10 लोगों की रोजी रोटी आगे बढ़ी। एक जिले में एक यूनिट कम से कम 60 लोगों को एम्प्लॉयमेंट देती है, तो हमारे देश का तो बेड़ा पार हो जाए।
Today it's paper. Tomorrow he's hoping to solve the nation's plastic problem by recycling it into this. Our best wishes, Mr. Dikshit, and may your tribe grow.